Discipline. A word men love to admire, but quietly avoid living. And so, the erosion begins. Not all at once. Not in a dramatic collapse, but in small, silent dissolutions. A skipped promise, a delayed task, a morning where you press snooze because no one is watching, a workout missed, a commitment postponed, a dream shelved for another day. Because without discipline, you cannot hold your own word. You cannot trust yourself. You cannot build. You cannot withstand. You cannot rise. Discipline is not about punishment. It is not about living a rigid, joyless existence. It is about coherence, the alignment between who you claim to be and how you actually live. And when a man lacks that alignment, he begins to fracture from within. He becomes restless, but doesn't know why. He becomes angry, but at the wrong things. He becomes tired, but not from effort, from avoidance. He looks at himself in the mirror and sees a stranger, a man with aspirations but no action, intentions but no execution, desires but no backbone. This is the erosion. It is slow, it is quiet, and it is deadly. But strength is not a feeling. It is a consequence. And without discipline, that consequence never comes. A man without discipline has no structure. His days blur together, directionless, without milestones or markers. He wakes, he drifts, he distracts himself, he sleeps, repeating the same loop while telling himself, "I'll start tomorrow." Next week becomes next year. And life does what life always does to undisciplined men. It passes. Not with anger, but with indifference. Time does not pause for the man who hesitates. Opportunities do not wait for the man who is unprepared. Life does not bend for the man who refuses to meet it with strength. A man doesn't wake up one morning and suddenly realize he has lost himself. It's more subtle. It's a conversation he avoids because he doesn't want to confront his own failures. It's a social invitation he accepts because being alone with his thoughts feels uncomfortable. It's the way he scrolls through his phone for stimulation instead of confronting the emptiness inside him. Bit by bit, he becomes numb. Not because the world broke him, but because he surrendered his discipline, and with it, his identity. Every undisciplined moment reinforces weakness, just as every disciplined moment reinforces strength. This is why discipline is not a lifestyle. It is a lifeline. Without it, a man cannot trust himself. And when a man does not trust himself, he walks through life hollow, searching for meaning in places that can never provide it. He becomes a man who reacts instead of leads, a man who seeks comfort instead of purpose, a man who survives instead of lives. The price of avoidance, the slow, invisible decay that turns strong men into shadows. If you feel lost, if you feel weak, if you feel like you've slipped from the man you could be, discipline is how a man returns to himself, and without it, he is nobody. Identity is not something you discover, it is something you build, slowly, deliberately, through the quiet repetition of disciplined actions. A man's character is not formed in moments of inspiration, but in the patterns he chooses to embody when no inspiration is present. You don't become disciplined because you feel like it. You become disciplined because you decide to be the kind of man who acts despite how he feels. This is the architecture of identity. Not dramatic declarations, not emotional vows, not promises whispered into a mirror at midnight, but action, daily, unromantic, often unnoticed by the world, but seen, always, by the man within. But the truth is far simpler. It belongs to the man who is willing to do what you avoid. Identity is not given. It is earned. Every rep in the gym, every early morning, every disciplined choice in the face of temptation, every time you act with integrity when deceit would be easier. These are not just behaviors, they are bricks. Bricks that build the architecture of who you are. Work on something that matters. Speak the truth. Face the things you've been avoiding. If you cannot trust your own word, your identity collapses. You become a man who performs discipline instead of living it. A man who talks about change instead of becoming it. Your identity becomes hollow, a costume. But when you follow through, when you show up consistently, when you do what you said you'd do, you begin to recognize yourself again. You begin to believe in yourself again. This is the quiet miracle of discipline. It reconstructs the man from the inside out. When plans fall apart, the man of discipline does not lose himself, because he was not built on comfort. He was built on structure. Chaos exposes what you have built, and what you have built exposes who you truly are. A disciplined man may bend, but he does not break, because he trusts himself. He knows that even in the storm, he will act according to his principles, not his panic. An undisciplined man is different. He becomes whatever the moment demands. Fear makes him fearful. Temptation makes him weak. Chaos makes him chaotic. Not because he is a bad man, but because he never architected himself into anything stronger than his impulses. You want to be strong? Train daily. You want to be stable? Keep structure in your life. You want to be respected? Tell the truth, even when it costs you. You want to be successful? Do the work consistently, especially on the days you hate it. These are not motivational slogans. They are the blueprint of identity. And every deviation from the blueprint weakens the structure. Every moment of discipline fortifies it. This commitment forms a kind of inner gravity, a force that keeps him aligned with who he aims to become. Without this gravity, a man drifts. He becomes scattered, inconsistent, directionless. He tries to find himself in hobbies, relationships, distractions. But identity is not discovered in escape. It is forged in engagement. Engagement with resistance, engagement with responsibility, engagement with the parts of yourself you'd rather avoid. Discipline is not a cage. It is the framework that allows a man to grow upward. Without it, a man collapses inward. A disciplined man understands this. He does not negotiate with his excuses. He does not postpone his life for comfort. He does not outsource his identity to circumstances. He builds himself through deliberate action. Brick by brick, habit by habit, day by day. In this way, discipline is not the suppression of freedom, it is the creation of it. Because a man who is ruled by his impulses is not free. A man who cannot rely on his own word is not free. A man who abandons structure in pursuit of comfort is not free. But the man who lives by disciplined principles, he is free from chaos, free from doubt, free from weakness, free from the hollow life that consumes undisciplined men. This is the architecture of identity, and discipline is the only architect capable of building a man worth becoming. Comfort is the enemy that smiles. It doesn't strike like hardship. It doesn't confront you like adversity. It seduces you, quietly, patiently, gently, until you forget you were ever meant for more. Modern life is engineered around this seduction. Comfort is everywhere. A soft bed, a warm screen, a distraction within reach, pleasure without effort, entertainment without meaning. And slowly, a man begins to shrink, not because he is weak, but because comfort has convinced him that strength is unnecessary. Your mind wants the path of least resistance, because for most of human history, conserving energy meant survival. But now, comfort doesn't help you survive. It slowly kills your potential. This is the war against comfort, a war every disciplined man must fight, a war that is never won permanently, only won today, and then tomorrow, and then the next day. That is what makes it dangerous. You skip one workout, nothing changes. You sleep in, no big deal. You binge on dopamine for an hour. You don't feel the consequences yet. Comfort gives you just enough relief to keep you from noticing the cost. But the cost is there. Subtle at first, but real. Comfort takes your hunger, your ambition, your sharpness, your masculinity, your fire. It replaces them with softness, restlessness, numbness. Comfort is the slow poison that feels like medicine. Growth requires friction. Strength requires resistance. Focus requires restraint. Discipline is the deliberate introduction of discomfort into your life, so you don't fall asleep in the arms of comfort. It is the choice to lift heavy things, so your character does not become light. It is the choice to wake up early, so your dreams don't rot in the dark. It is the choice to delay pleasure, so pleasure does not rule you. It is the choice to say no, so you can say yes to something greater. Rise. He becomes directionless. He feels empty, but doesn't know why. He feels anxious, but doesn't know the cause. He feels unfulfilled, but blames the world. But it is not the world. It is the absence of internal victory. A man who does not fight comfort loses his ability to respect himself. A man who cannot respect himself cannot lead himself. And a man who cannot lead himself cannot build anything of worth. Every time you choose comfort, you dull yourself. It is that simple and that unforgiving. Because comfort never prepares you for the storms. Only discipline does. And storms will come. In life, in relationships, in purpose, in responsibility. When they do, your comfort will abandon you, but your discipline will carry you. So, one path gives you pleasure now and regret later. The other gives you struggle now and pride later. One path kills the man you could be. The other brings him to life. This war cannot be outsourced. It cannot be delegated. It cannot be avoided. It must be fought, today and every day after. The man who wins this war becomes someone he is proud to be. The man who loses becomes someone he cannot recognize. The choice is always yours. Pain is not your enemy. Pain is the signal that life is trying to shape you. And the man who avoids pain avoids the very process that forges strength. A disciplined life is not built on comfort. It is built on chosen discomfort. Purposeful struggle, voluntary hardship, the kind of pain that refines you instead of breaking you. There are two types of pain in a man's life: the pain that happens to him and the pain he chooses to endure. One destroys, the other transforms. Most men run from both, but the disciplined man understands something profound. Pain is the sculptor of the masculine soul, to crave convenience and avoid friction. But nothing meaningful grows in the absence of resistance. A tree that is never touched by the wind develops weak roots. A muscle that never meets tension never grows. A mind that never faces challenge becomes fragile. And a man who never chooses discomfort becomes hollow. Pain is not the punishment, it is the curriculum. It teaches you who you are, what you value, and what you're capable of carrying. A weak world teaches men to escape pain, but a disciplined man uses pain to reveal his purpose. You avoid the pain of weakness. If you choose the pain of honesty, you avoid the pain of living a lie. If you choose the pain of responsibility, you avoid the pain of chaos. Men who refuse the small daily pains of discipline end up carrying the massive, unbearable weight of a life without direction. The burden is coming either way. The question is, will you choose it, or will it be forced upon you? In the moments when fear is loud, but action is louder. In the moments when every part of you wants to step back, but something deeper pushes you forward. That deeper part of you, the disciplined part, is your true self. Not the self buried under distraction, not the self softened by comfort, but the self forged by pain and directed by purpose. You learn what matters. You learn what is worth fighting for. You learn what you truly value, not what you pretend to value. Most men talk about purpose, but few are willing to endure the pain required to discover it. Purpose demands sacrifice. It demands patience. It demands the willingness to carry something difficult while the world tempts you with easier paths. A man without purpose is restless. A man without struggle is stagnant. A man without pain is untested, and untested strength is imaginary. Discipline is how a man chooses his pain deliberately, so he can choose his purpose deliberately. But because the act of enduring transforms you, Pain stretches you. It expands your capacity. It reveals your limits, and then teaches you that those limits are not fixed. You do not become resilient by talking about resilience. You become resilient by surviving what should have broken you, and then standing taller because of it. The disciplined man does not fear pain because he understands its role. He knows pain is a gatekeeper, a test, a threshold he must cross to become the man he is meant to be. Undisciplined men never cross that threshold. They live on the doorstep of their potential, but never step inside. This is the chain that makes a man. When you remove pain, the chain breaks. And without meaning, men fall into despair. Not dramatic despair, subtle despair, the quiet kind. The kind that sits in the chest and makes a man feel empty no matter how much he consumes. Comfort cannot cure that emptiness. Pleasure cannot cover it. Distraction cannot drown it. Only purpose can fill it. And purpose is found on the far side of discipline and pain. A mathematical result of repeated, disciplined choices. Weakness is also a consequence, a predictable outcome of avoidance. The choice is simple. Does your pain serve you, or does it suffocate you? The disciplined man uses pain. The undisciplined man is used by it. Choose the pain that sharpens you. Choose the pain that lifts you toward your purpose. Because once a man learns to turn pain into progress, nothing can stop him. And once he learns to turn discipline into meaning, nothing can break him. You were not made for comfort. You were made for challenges worthy of your strength. Pain is not the obstacle. It is the path, and discipline is the guide that leads you through it. Every man wants to be respected. Every man wants to be trusted. Every man wants to be someone others can depend on. But reliability is not built in grand gestures. It is built in discipline, in the quiet, consistent follow-through that turns a man into a foundation rather than a burden. A man without discipline cannot be relied upon, not by his family, not by his friends, not by his partner, not by himself. He becomes unpredictable, inconsistent, unstable, not because he is evil or careless, but because he has not forged the structure that allows a man to carry weight. A man with discipline, however, becomes a force of stability in a chaotic world. And stability is rare, precious, masculine. But reliability is not about being agreeable. It is about being solid. You become that solid man when you live with discipline, when you sharpen your mind, structure your days, and align your actions with your values. It is impossible to be dependable if you are ruled by impulses. It is impossible to be respected if you cannot control your own habits. It is impossible to be trustworthy if your life has no structure. Discipline is the backbone of dependability, especially when it's difficult. Other men look to him. Women trust him. Children feel safe around him. Not because he is perfect, but because he is consistent. Consistency is the foundation of masculine respect, and consistency is the child of discipline. Someone who can make decisions without trembling. Someone who stands firm while others fall apart. This strength does not come from genetics. It does not come from talent. It does not come from personality. It comes from the daily practice of discipline, from doing the hard things that build inner order. You cannot carry others if you cannot carry yourself. You cannot support a family if you cannot support your own habits. You cannot lead if you cannot follow your own standards. Dependability begins with self-discipline. If you cannot rely on yourself, no one else can rely on you. The man who says little but follows through speaks louder than any boast. When you say you'll be somewhere, you show up. When you say you'll do something, you do it. When you commit fully. This is the kind of reliability that builds trust in relationships, partnerships, and communities. But you cannot keep your word to others if you are constantly breaking your word to yourself. A man's integrity begins internally. Every time you stick to a disciplined action, You strengthen the chain that links who you are to who you claim to be. Every time you break a disciplined promise, that chain weakens. Eventually, a man becomes either forged or fractured by his habits. A dependable man becomes the anchor in other people's storms. Not because he tries to save everyone, but because his very presence gives direction. People follow the steady man. They trust the disciplined man. They seek the counsel of the man who has his own life in order. This is masculine leadership in its purest form, not dominance, but steadiness. A disciplined man leads without forcing. Others naturally align themselves around his stability. Benefits without burdens. But the man who embraces responsibility becomes valuable. He becomes rare. He becomes someone who can be trusted with tasks, secrets, problems, and futures. Responsibility is the furnace where the metal of discipline is heated and hardened. Nads, you become stronger than your circumstances. When you become stronger than your circumstances, people naturally rely on you. And that reliance is not a weight, it is an honor. To be the man others can depend on is one of the highest achievements a man can reach. Not because it makes him superior, but because it makes him meaningful. Men crumble when they feel useless. Men rise when they feel needed. But to be truly needed, you must be truly reliable. And to be truly reliable, you must be truly disciplined. This is what it means to be a man others can depend on. A man who strengthens the lives around him simply by being who he is. Not perfect, not heroic, just disciplined. And discipline, when practiced long enough, becomes a kind of gravity, pulling people toward stability, toward trust, toward respect. This is the man you are meant to become, not for applause, not for image, but because this kind of man is needed in the world. And the world is starving for him. The world you live in is louder than any world men have lived in before. Noise everywhere, notifications, opinions, temptations, shortcuts, comfort disguised as progress, distraction disguised as connection. To live as a disciplined man in this chaotic world is not an accident. It is a decision made every single day. Modern chaos does not look like war or famine. It looks like overstimulation. It looks like endless scrolling. It looks like attention drained by trivial things. It looks like a mind pulled in 100 directions but committed to none. Most men today are not defeated by overwhelming adversity. They are defeated by overwhelming distraction. The world has made it easy to exist without ever truly living. Discipline is how you rise above this, how you become a man who moves with intention instead of reacting to everything around you. Clarity about what you want, clarity about what you refuse to become. A man who is unclear is a man who is vulnerable to every temptation, but a man with clarity becomes untouchable. The disciplined man begins by simplifying his world, reducing the noise, eliminating what weakens him, choosing deliberately what receives his attention. The average man tries to do everything. The disciplined man focuses on what matters and cuts the rest. This subtraction is not loss, it is liberation. Work with intention, eat with intention, rest with intention, speak with intention. Honor routines not because they are exciting, but because they build reliability. A routine is not a cage. It is the architecture of freedom. It protects your energy, your focus, your purpose. Men without routines are men without control. Men with discipline are men who command their days, instead of being consumed by them. If you cannot focus, you cannot grow. If you cannot grow, you cannot lead. If you cannot lead yourself, the world will lead you, and it will always lead you toward weakness. To live disciplined today, you must be intentional about what you consume. Information, food, media, people, habits, thoughts. Your mind becomes what you feed it. Your life becomes what you repeat. You must also become comfortable being the outsider, because discipline in a chaotic world makes you different. While others waste their evenings, you train. While others chase dopamine, you pursue purpose. While others run from responsibility, you run toward it. While others fear hardship, you embrace it. This difference will make you misunderstood, judged, even resented. But that is the price of being uncommon. Discipline is lonely at first, but respected later. Weakness is accepted at first, but despised later. You must choose which discomfort you will live with. A man who loses control of his emotions loses control of his life. Because chaos outside will always trigger chaos inside if you have no internal anchor. Discipline gives you that anchor. It gives you the space between emotion and reaction, the clarity to respond instead of explode, the strength to remain steady when the world is unstable. A disciplined man is not numb. He is stable, and stability has become a superpower, something larger than your comfort, something worthy of your strength. That why might be your future family, your legacy, your health, your potential, the man you refuse to die without becoming. When your actions serve something greater than temporary pleasure, discipline becomes natural. Meaning is fuel. Purpose is direction. Discipline is the vehicle. Your ability to return defines your future more than your ability to be perfect. Perfection is a myth. Consistency is a choice. And choices, disciplined choices, are what shape a man. When the inside is strong, the outside cannot break you. When the inside is disciplined, the world becomes manageable, no matter how loud, how tempting, or how chaotic it becomes. The disciplined man walks through madness like a mountain through a storm, unmoved, unshaken, unbroken, because he is built, on purpose, with intention, through the daily practice of choosing who he wants to be. And that choice, repeated consistently, is what separates the men who rise from the men who collapse. You are living in a chaotic world, but you do not have to live as a chaotic man. Build yourself, discipline yourself, anchor yourself, and watch the world bend around a man who refuses to be bent. Slow down now. Let the weight settle. Let the truth breathe. You have walked through the architecture of discipline, its pain, its purpose, its clarity, its quiet power. Now let all of it fall into place. The world will not soften for you. Life will not remove its burdens. Time will not pause so you can catch up, but you can become the kind of man who does not fear any of it. Breathe deeply. Listen carefully. There is something inside you, ancient, strong, unbroken, that has waited years to be awakened. It does not rise in moments of comfort. It rises in moments of decision, the decision to become disciplined, to become reliable, to become purposeful, to become a man you respect when you look in the mirror. Your life is shaped in the silence of your choices, in the small battles, in the unseen moments, in the quiet victories no one else will ever notice. Do not chase the life that requires no discipline. It will leave you hollow. Chase the life that asks everything of you, your strength, your patience, your fire, your resilience. Because that is the life that will make you proud. That is the life that will give you meaning. That is the life that will define you long after you are gone. You were not made to be nobody. You were made to be a disciplined man, dangerous in your capability, stable in your presence, purposeful in your direction, and unwavering in your character. Stand up, walk forward, begin again. Your future waits for the man you choose to become.